Hey everybody, it's Adam, Sophie with Encite Branding, Marketing, Creative, back with another episode of Encite Live. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, we are post-election. We are 2021. We are onwards and upwards.
Yeah, nowhere to go, really.
Yeah, hopefully we can't go down, right?
Right.
But we come to you live every other Friday on our YouTube channel and Facebook page. So hopefully you guys can tune in every Friday and see what we're talking about this time and the topics that we have this week. So the topics that I have this week from my perspective is I found a couple of different things that happened.
Okay.
And it has to do with visual identity, brand strategy, logo, concepts, creative. So what happened was GM went ahead and changed their logo. So here's their
iconic
current logo.
Yep.
Which everybody has some recognition of, right? So they decided there was a brand refresh. So, and what went into that, we aren't privy to, but all we know is the end result,
right.
I guess. And so they went from this iconic logo to this guy,
right.
which to me is warranted. Brand refreshes are warranted. Times have changed, audiences change, industry changes. But what do you think? This is something that's that they've rolled out here in the last few weeks.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I have a reason to back that up. I think that it feels casual. It feels too trendy. It feels, I don't know, honestly, like when you just switch that first one to this, it almost feels juvenile. Like it feels like the little brother of the initial one. A little bit. Like you said, it's like now I feel like that's a thing that a lot of companies are doing. And I understand. But I do think that it's important to focus on the legacy that you've already built and how changing that might affect the people that are familiar with your brand, which in GM's case is a lot of people.
Yeah. It's one of those things to where we talk about brand strategy around here a lot, and we talk about what are those brand attributes, who is that audience, what is that messaging, who are you trying to reach, and I would think that there's a lot of emotional connection to the current brand, right? So GM being, cars and trucks, extensions of cars and trucks are really kind of personal to people, right? It's a pretty personal purchase.
You could be like a GM person who that's the only car you ever bought.
A lot of brand loyalty, right?
Yeah.
So it's very personal. It's very much represents the person, kind of like Apple and iMac do. So to change that is a big gamble.
Right.
It's a huge gamble, right? But I understand where they're coming from. And so we're not privy to that brand strategy session because I know that there was a lot of thinking to go into a change like this, a lot of money spent, I'm sure, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Vetted 100 times.
Right. They have put together multiple concepts, multiple variations of those concepts, and they've kind of landed on this. So it's easy for us to criticize, as outsiders, number one. And number two, all we're seeing is the end result. But there's got to be something to be said for that visceral reaction, right? Like, does it hit me? And I think that there are a lot of people over time will come to kind of do acceptance that. But there seems to be not as much backlash as I've seen in the past. But there's some people that are pretty up in arms that they're changing their logo.
Well, I'm sort of wondering if, people have just been tuned into other things.
Maybe maybe they're turning their emotions elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe GM should have done that right in the middle of election season. But one thing that brought to mind to me was about 10 years ago, Gap changed their logo. And they, again, also went through an entirely huge process. They went from that iconic blue square to this one here, to where they're minimizing the blue square.
Right.
But there was such an enormous backlash and such enormous criticism that they switched back to their logo. So I don't know how much time and money was spent into this. Again, an iconic brand like Gap, and as big as a company with their parent company, I mean, I'm sure they've spent quite a bit of time and money in that, and they kind of had to go back to where they were. And I think that's a pretty good testament to making sure that your audience, what kind of emotional connection does your audience have with your brand?
And how deep does that run?
And apparently at Gap, it runs very deep.
Yeah.
Right. I guess people are really up in arms about their khakis.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah.
So, but yeah, you wouldn't. I hope that doesn't happen to GM. I hope.
Wish them the best.
Wish them the best.
Just and modern can go really well. And it can also be tricky. It can be tricky to pull off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think that people over time will come to accept some of that.
I mean, it's relatively, it's like a new, I mean, by the name in itself, it's a new design trend. And I think we're still sort of like coming around to what works and what doesn't.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's hard. So wish them the best. I hope it works out. I wish their agency the best. I know it's hard to take some criticism sometimes.
Totally.
Especially on a stage like they're taking that criticism. But I'm sure that they've done their due diligence, so I'm sure it'll work out.
Agree.
What'd you find this week? I know you got some stuff.
Yeah, so mine is very timely. So I'm sure 99% of the people in the world watched the inauguration. And I had one of those moments where you're watching something and you're immediately like, oh, I'm going to see this on the internet in a few hours. And I think I was like working while I was watching or doing something else. And so sort of like half paying attention. And then this image of Bernie Sanders comes up on the screen and he just looks like exactly what I would imagine I would look like if I was sitting outside in the middle of January watching speeches for 5 hours, you know? And it's become like this internet thing and a ton of brands are using it, which I think is a great example of like taking something popular in the cultural atmosphere and like using it and making it work. So we have like a couple examples of brands that have used this, in my opinion, pretty well. This one is Benefit Cosmetics. When the appointment before you decides to add a lip wax last minute. I mean, I love so much about this. One, the idea of Bernie Sanders, being in a Benefit Cosmetics store. But yeah, it's so good. And then there's another one that we've got. This is Ricky Howe. I just think so good. And I think he's like become this, for my generation especially, like this sort of like internet grandpa almost, you know? I mean, even if you love Bernie Sanders, if you hate Bernie Sanders, I think you can laugh at Bernie Sanders in like an endearing way.
Yeah.
So I think it's like this universal experience. There's one more that I think is very Bernie-esque. Bernie is all of us when the edible hits. It's like the perfect way to use a meme, I feel like, without tiring it out. Because these have all come out within like the last 24, 48 hours. Yeah. So it's like very quick turnaround and it feels like something that is, I mean, it's got legs and people are latching on and I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Well, I think what it is too is number one, it's very timely, it's very viral, and number two, it's pretty lighthearted.
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
There's not a whole lot of like
which people need right now.
Contentiousness, right? Like if so, and Bernie's. I saw an interview about. They interviewed him about, or he had a statement about kind of that picture, and he said, "Well, I just wanted everybody something to the effect of I wanted everybody to know that they make great." Mittens. Like, so he plays it off.
And it's like this woman who like made them by hand and it's like everything. It just rings so true to like the stereotype that I think people have of him, which is hilarious.
Well, yeah, but I think it's that stereotype, but I think he also brings some really, again, lightheartedness, but really kind of down to earthness. I mean, that's his brand, right? Like
totally.
He's like, I could care less about the jacket because I heard some people talking about his jacket, and it's like
because it's the same jacket that
was 4 years ago. But it's also a jacket that your grandpa would wear. It's not like a fitted, like nice overcoat, and that's Bernie. Right? Like Bernie could care less about fashion.
Right.
He's just like, I want to get the job done.
Totally.
So this totally fits, and I think that's part of the lightheartedness.
Especially after you're watching like Barack Obama and George Bush walk in and they're like tailored pea coats,
Michelle Obama's on point,
and then the camera
jacket.
pans and this is what we get. And I also think it's interesting because like let's take this for example. If you were to be scrolling through Twitter and like on Inauguration Day you're seeing an ad from this company, I think you're sort of like, why are you trying to sell me weed right now? But I think this allows it to be like, yes, here's a reminder that this brand exists, but also this funny thing just
Yeah.
happened that we can all laugh at, and it's now okay that here's this branding message, you know?
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
love
the being able to laugh.
Totally.
About it and
It's
laugh, to be able to laugh
yeah.
at Bernie and he's like, whatever.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we have for this week. But yeah, stay tuned. 2 weeks, and discussing more current marketing stuff. So thanks for checking in. Keep up with us on Facebook, YouTube, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye, guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you off of Zoom. Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna shoot That one is going right now. Stop streaming.